Hi guys, and welcome to day one of my journey. As you may know from day zero, today is going to be all about short-term cash, so money that I need within the next 48 hours or so to be able to pay off my bills. And as you might have picked up from my cash flow model, I actually need about £370 sterling in the next 24 to 48 hours. And so I've identified a number of things in this pillar one of short-term cash that I can do. As a reminder, pillar two is sort of the medium-term things. I'm building out some services and some products that will generate hopefully recurring cash flow in time, but I estimate that cash flow to be sort of a 3 to 6 month period away. And then there's the long-term game, the third pillar, which is about buying more companies. As you know, I'm a mergers and acquisitions expert from a previous life, and so I'm looking to buy a few more software companies or companies in sort of a similar industry, a complementary industry. But back to pillar one, which is what today is all about. So the first thing I identified in my cash flow model was, of course, that I have quite a number of subscriptions that I really love, and this is really tough because I love watching sports. And so I've got BT Sport and Now TV, and I've got Sky Sports, and I've got also Spotify and Netflix, and a number of other subscriptions that I absolutely love because I don't know, I love my TV sports and I love my shows, especially when I travel. And so I've actually identified that I spend £105 on subscriptions that are not entirely necessary per month. And more importantly, they're actually all due in the first 10 days of the month. And so I cancelled all of them. So luckily tomorrow's FA Cup final between Manchester United and Manchester City, up the Reds, is going to be on free TV on BBC One. So I'm going to be able to watch that anyway. Other than that though, that's just saving. I also need to generate cash because I don't have any in the account that I'm using for this experiment. And so in order to find those £370, I will be selling a few things. I've looked high and low in the attic. I spent hours yesterday looking for things that I no longer need. And I've got an old phone, I've got some parts, some computer parts, I've got a graphics adapter, which I think will fetch me around 100 still. And I've got a wireless keyboard and a few other bits and bobs that, you know, I've always saved for when I need them. And quite frankly, if you haven't used something for a year then, or half a year even, then you probably don't need it. And so I estimate those things to be worth over £500, but I think, unfortunately, because I'll need to sell them on eBay and I'll need to flip them quickly, and I need to put in the option of buy now, I think I'll probably get around 300 quid or so for them, hopefully. So I'll be setting that up. Then the other thing that I've looked at, which I think is great short-term catch, at least for those of you who are a bit more advanced in your careers, where you've got expertise that's actually worth something to someone. There's a number of portals, 5 or 6 good ones that I've actually I used ChatGPT-4 to find them. GLG, ProSapiens, a couple others where basically consulting companies are looking for expertise, where they interview you for an hour or two, or to pick your brain, or where you answer a questionnaire and where your expertise is useful. So for instance, for me, packaging expertise, M&A, software companies, the European single market, different areas of expertise. I've put them on that profile, and then whoever has a project checks my profile against those. Plus you can also proactively apply to projects. And it took me about 4 hours to set up all those profiles. Obviously I copy pasted them, but the different portals are different. And I've signed up for a total of around $500 US dollars of projects. Some of them are questionnaires. I'll be doing them later. They're about $120. So they're between $25 and $100 per questionnaire, depending on how niche your know-how is that they're looking for. A lot of the time, for instance, packaging industry, packaging sustainability, know-how is quite niche, and so that's a good area if there are projects, and then the other stuff. So it totals 500, and some of those will actually be paid immediately upon sort of completion. So I'll be doing that later, and I'm hoping for the best. And then so for the medium short term, so for the next couple of weeks, I also need to trade a little bit of my time for money. So I've actually reached out to a number of people to see if they have any consulting or contractor gigs that I could be doing. And a really good exercise that I'd recommend everyone do every once in a while, if you're in any way, shape or form in business development, is to just take out your phone book and your social media, and make a table of one column of people who you are sure you should reach out and who could help you with your current situation, or would actually be in pole position to either recommend you to someone, knowing someone who could help you out, or who could buy services or your services directly. Then I have a second column, which is the people who are less likely, but worth a try, especially if I've known them well in the past, but maybe we haven't spoken for 5 or 10 years. We've just not lived in the same place or not hung out with the same people. Good time to call. And then sort of the moonshots, the 10%ers, where I find it highly unlikely, but who hold interesting positions or are somehow related to what I'm trying to do. And I did that exercise, and two things that always happen. One is that you'll actually end up finding many more people for your list than you thought was possible. If you just sort of go about it and think, hey, who do I know? You'll come up with 5 or 6 names. If you systematically go through your social media or phone book, you'll end up with 20 to 30 or even more. I end up with 40 people, and I'll be calling all of them to ask them if they can help me out with this project. The other thing that happens is that it's highly uncomfortable to us to be asking for help, but people actually love being asked for help, right? It puts you in a position of power. And so I'll just get over myself and make the calls, and there'll probably be quite a few people who are happy to help. The only downside with this is that if I'm looking for work and I'm asking for work and I need the money in the next 5 to 10 days, what happens is I'll have to ask for some upfront payment. So that needs it needs one or two things, or both. It'll either need lots of rapport, so we need to be already quite acquainted and people need to know what I can do. They need to have seen my personal brand and my ability in some way, shape or form. I need to come recommended to them. Or the other thing is that they'll of course push on price, and they'll say, well, the consulting rate is XYZ, and would you be willing to do it for 70%? And so of course, long term, that's not great. Even if I take some of the payment up front and some at the end, I'll probably end up getting paid a little bit less. But I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Right now, I'm fairly optimistic, other than about the fact that I can no longer watch sports, but I don't have that time now anyway, because I need to hustle in all of those 3 pillars. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'll recap that briefly. So one thing I'm doing is I'll be flipping things on eBay. Let's see how that goes, how much money I make for different things. The other thing is I'll be calling through my phone book and contacting people on LinkedIn for a chat, and I'll be very blunt and upfront, because no one likes to have 15 minutes of small talk for someone then to come in and say, okay, look, actually the only reason I'm reaching out after 6 years is because I need your help. I'm perfectly comfortable with leading in that. I also know that I've done people a solid over the last 20 years. I know that I've been good to my network, so I count on them being good to me if they're in a position that they can. But let's see. Right, so that's that for today. Tomorrow, as I promised, I'll be focusing on pillar 2, on looking at potential services and products that I can build out for my company, for my personal company, and see how that goes. And of course, I'll give you a recap on how I did on the day 1 tasks, and whether I actually generated any money, or whether I now need to borrow a couple £100 from my neighbors. But I hope not. I'm confident that this is going to work out. So I'll see you tomorrow, and if I liked what you saw and you saw what you liked, please like and subscribe. It'll massively help me to have a little bit of a following here. And as always, ask me any questions, and I'm super happy to send you any of the tools that I used. If you didn't understand a bit, let's say the one where I did 3 sort of categories of people for my phone book, any of that, send me a message and I'll send you back a screenshot of what it is that I actually did. The cash flow model you already had yesterday. Hope you enjoyed it. Many of you asked for it as an Excel. We sent that out. But I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you and good night.